The Scottish Conservative leader, Ruth Davidson. Good to talk to you, Ms Davidson. Nicola Sturgeon said that she looked into Theresa May's eyes, she saw a wall of intransigence, and this is the only way, she says, that the Scottish people can really have their voices heard.
Well, I have to say, for the First Minister to be talking about respect when she unilaterally made this announcement today without talking to anybody about it, myself, the UK government or anything else, is some brass neck. And I think to say that there was some kind of intransigence when the UK government hasn't moved Article 50, it's still considering the paper that was put forward by the Scottish government. It hadn't come back to it. Also within the Prime Minister's Lancaster House speech, there was several of the specific asks of the First Minister in there, things like closer cooperation on crime and security, rights of EU nationals, rights of workers here in the UK, a free trade deal. I think that was some pretty brass neck from the First Minister today.
But she would say, though, that the majority of people in Scotland voted to stay within the EU. They're not being represented by the Westminster government. The circumstances have changed since the last referendum.
Well, the First Minister's problem is she has no mandate for a second independence referendum. She lost her majority in Parliament. The people of Scotland have said time and time and again that they do not want dragged back to the division of another referendum. She also today put on a strange caveat that she wants to have it at the worst possible time when Scotland would be voting blind, where we didn't know either what Brexit looked like nor what independence looked like. And she's trying to co-opt votes like mine, who were votes for Remain, to stay within the EU, but absolutely not in any way, shape or form a vote for another independence referendum. And that's why people in Scotland are so angry at the First Minister today, because she's not speaking for Scotland.
Well, you say that, but the latest polls, the latest Ipsos Mori STV poll shows that 50% of people that they polled would vote to leave, 50% would vote to remain. And this is within the EU. This is within the UK, sorry, not within the EU. So it is actually 50-50 at the moment, isn't it?
Well, Ipsos Mori was one of the pollsters that had yes ahead at the time of the referendum last time, and of course no won by more than 10 points. But I'm talking about people even before that of wanting a second referendum. You've had 10, 12 polls since Brexit last year that have shown consistently that the majority of Scots have no wish to be dragged back to a second independence referendum, whether they would vote yes or no at all. The First Minister is not speaking for all of Scotland. She's not listening to the people who are making their views clear. They don't want Nicola to pursue the only political goal she's had since she was 15 years old when she joined the SNP, which is to break up Britain. They want her to act as a First Minister of Scotland, and today I think not only has she diminished herself, she's diminished the office that she holds.
If she gets this referendum and if she wins, what do you think it'll be like living in a Scotland that's separate from the UK but potentially still part of the EU?
Well, first of all, there's about 17 hypotheticals that I'm not prepared to jump over on that one. But I will certainly defend the decision that Scotland made not 3 years ago to remain part of the United Kingdom, a union that's worth 4 times more to us in terms of trade than the EU, a union that was voted for by a huge percentage of the population, a clear result, a clear mandate, and one that Nicola Sturgeon herself promised would last a lifetime. Today, she didn't speak for anyone other than Nicola Sturgeon. Today was a pretty sad day for her in office. It
was very close, though. You know, a huge majority. It was pretty close, wasn't it?
Well, there was 2 million people across Scotland that voted to remain part of the UK. You know, it was more than a 10-point gap in terms of referenda we've seen lately. That's not that close at all, and I'm convinced that were we ever to have to go down that road, and I don't concede that we should, and I certainly know the people of Scotland don't want it, that's a vote that we could defend the decision that the people of Scotland made.
What about what Ms Sturgeon says, that this is about creating a genuine partnership of equals and that it's about the democratic principle of who decides Scotland's future, that Scotland's being taken down a path that she believes the majority of people don't want to be taken down?
Well, the democratic principle is that Scotland voted to remain part of the UK. We voted to have a system of devolution where there are some powers, like macroeconomics, like defence, like foreign affairs, that are held at Westminster, some powers that are held in the building behind me at Holyrood, like schools, like health, like transport, and there's some powers that are shared, like the new welfare powers that are coming. That's what people in Scotland voted for. That's the democratic mandate, and it seems to me that every time Nicola Sturgeon government runs into trouble on things like education, where children are performing worse than they ever have before, on things like health, where the waiting lists are growing, Nicola Sturgeon runs off to talk about the Constitution so that they can shine a light on that and not on their own record of government, which frankly isn't that impressive.
OK, Ruth Davidson, good to talk to you. Thanks.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.